Hey everybody, so it's been about 24 hours since I've been using my little glucose patch. Some really cool data, especially at night, seeing I generally wake up between 2 and 3 a.m. to go for a wee. I always thought it's just because my bladder was full, but both 2 nights now, I've seen this drop in the same sort of period, that same hour of my glucose levels dropping kind of off the chart. So is it my body telling me that I need to get up and move because my sugar levels are too low? Who knows? Who knows? Because I need to do a little bit more testing, I think. I think if I'm changing my food, changing my diet at night, going back to my sort of science ways of I need to only change a couple of variables at a time. So I want a good week's worth of data before I can start manipulating and changing bits and pieces. One thing I've definitely have found though in relation to them variable changes is when I'm eating certain foods, not combining it with anything else, so any supplements or anything together, make sure my blood glucose levels drop back down to that normal range and then try a different product or a different type of food to see how it affects it. Otherwise, it's going to be conflicting of not knowing what works and what doesn't work. So one thing I do in the mornings is I do measure out my breakfast. I have a smoothie and I have done for a number of years. My first smoothie with using the glucose patch, I saw a big spike. So I changed my smoothie this morning, just changed the type of glycemic index in the foods. So I reduced my frozen berries and increased my oats. So it was interesting to see what the results are like from the two different spikes. Pretty much everything was the same in the smoothie, so it should be interesting to see has it made it worse or more in relation to that crash. One thing that I was really interested in yesterday was that I had these protein yogurts as a snack or a treat if you like. So the healthy yogurt, and wow, the spike was ridiculous. I actually felt this crash maybe 2 or 3 minutes after I've eaten it, after I've finished. Yeah, that's generally then when I would have something a little bit sweeter, like some dark chocolate or a tea or coffee to just bring my sugar levels up. But now I can see that it's that sure crash of having a product that is healthy but high in sugar. So I'm interested just to see how this next week goes on, just changing a few little things throughout my training and maybe the timing that I'm eating my food. But again, once I've got a good collective amount of data over this next week, I should then be able to manipulate it. One thing that I am going to do at the end of this 14 days of this patch, because they last for 14 days, so just before the 14 days finished, I am going to do what we call a reboot, which is a 60-hour fast. I want to see again how it affects my sugar levels and what it actually does to my body in relation to, does it get me into ketosis? Do I actually see sugar spikes without eating for that length of time? So I put this little extra patch on which comes with the device. I think it was like a little freebie, really cool. Just I feel like it's a little bit more protected, especially if I'm taking my jumper on and off, or if I'm training or getting in and out of the shower. So definitely worth purchasing. So I just want to clarify, one of the reasons why I wanted to do this is because I wanted to really see, is there another way of tracking what I eat instead of just using what most of my customers use is MyFitnessPal. I think it's important to understand that you have to understand about what portion sizes are and amount that you need to be eating for your particular goal. But what I've definitely found is that calorie intake for an individual of the same height, same weight, same particular goal can affect them in different ways. What their gut health is like, what their recovery protocol is like. So having this data for me to see exactly the food I'm eating, how is it affecting me on a day-to-day basis, I think is really, really cool. So as I say, this is purely for my own self-research into seeing how's the food that I'm actually currently eating affecting my sugar levels, which fundamentally is going to affect my cognitive function, my recovery rate, my ability to build muscle, reduce body fat. So again, it's an individual process. Already after just over 24 hours of using it, it's again that accountability that I like. After every meal, I'm watching the app to see how it affects my sugar levels, and that is what motivates me to eat a little bit cleaner, be a bit more stricter on the types of foods that I'm having. So like all these devices that I use, like the Oura Ring, obviously this glucose patch, the MyZone belt, everything for me is that accountability, looking at that data and getting that feedback, which again is an important process of why you're doing it. Yeah, so you can understand how it is affecting you on a minute by minute process. So this process for me is gonna last a good month, and I wanna see how me manipulating my food, manipulating my times of eating, my portion size, keeping the calories the same because it's kind of what I've stuck to and what I know works for me, what my training regime's like, what type of training affects that glucose levels, how does it affect my recovery, what happens at night with my sugar levels. So all this information I think is really useful. However, I do think that it's going to be very, very individual. So if you're wanting to do something like this, go for it. But just please understand that the information that I'm giving to you right now is purely based on me in my current situation and in my current environment, on how I live, how I train. So it's very, very specific. So if you're gonna do it, go for it. I think it's definitely the future of how to track food and nutrition and understand how you get the best out of your ultimate performance.